war with the US and Israel for at least 6 months at the current pace, saying they have struck over 200 sites linked to US and Israeli bases across the region. This comes as Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu vows to continue the war with full forces, citing near total control of Tehran's skies. Meanwhile, Iran's President Pezeshkian refuses unconditional surrender, even as Tehran continues targeting Gulf nations. Israel has warned it will pursue every successor to Iran's slain supreme leader and anyone involved in appointing them. Let's listen into what IRGC spokesman Ali Mohammed Naini had to say.
نیروهای مسلح توانمند ما مقتدر جمهوری اسلامی حداقل برای یک جنگ تمام عیار 6 ماهه پر شدت با همین ریتم فعلی آمادگی کامل دارن.
Now, Mohammed, what do you make of this statement saying that they could potentially last 6 months in this war? This statement from Iran. The Trump administration has said, of course, that they believe it to last for 4 to 6 weeks. How would the American public react to this war extending beyond a month, 6 weeks, 2 months? Could we see perhaps protests against this? We've also seen a massive depletement in the weapons supplies, of course, for Iran, as their indigenous capabilities is being targeted there. They, of course, construct their own missiles and drones within Iran. What do you make of this statement for a 6-month ability to last?
Well, of course, I think it would be rather foolish to definitively assess how long this war might last. I believe that 6 months is an exaggerated time period. Of course, I can never outrule it, unfortunately. However, I don't think that the global economy can bear the consequences of this war going on for 6 months. However, Iran has proven that it can be resilient and it can survive under unusual and severe circumstances. However, of course, this time they are what they are being subjected to is the total destruction of the country. If this goes on as long as they say it might it might go 6 months. And I don't think the Americans would be willing to commit to such a very long conflict. It's already a very unpopular war inside the United States. The American public disagrees with it, does not really buy into the narrative of the current administration on the motives and the justifications behind this war. Only 27% will be of the US public, and according to the latest polls, support undertaking this war. So it is very unpopular to begin with, as I mentioned a few seconds ago. And also at the same time, what is really, really interesting is that Trump's base, the MAGA base, are the biggest anti-war base inside the United States. And they are the ones who are openly questioning the motives behind this war. We've seen hardcore supporters of Trump, whether formally or still currently, people like Tucker Carlson, people like Candace Owens, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the former member of Congress. All of those prominent Republicans, for example, who belong to the MAGA movement one way or the other, do have criticized this war and expressed their vehement opposition to it. So it seems that the prospects or the idea that this war might last this long, this will surely ensure that the Republicans lose the midterms come this year, the fall of this year, when the elections take place. So I don't think that the Americans are planning for the war to last that long. However, that doesn't mean that it will be a short war. We all thought that this might go on for a few days or a week. Now it's entering its second week. There are indicators that it will go on much longer, 5-6 weeks. Operational readiness of the U.S. military, according to some reports, say that the U.S. has actually mobilized enough assets and ammunition and supplies in the region for these operations to last 100 days, which is more than 3 months. Of course, if this is the case, this will be a disaster for the global economy and for the economies of the region, and even potentially even for the United States itself to be entangled in such a long conflict, as casualties will mount eventually. When it comes to Iran's capabilities, of course, we can see that Iran's ability to launch missiles has dwindled significantly, decreased significantly. Now it is down by 70 or 80% according to some estimates. The New York Times estimated that Iran still maintains about 50% of their ballistic missile program. However, that doesn't mean that the program that means that the program is being very rapidly degraded if they lost 50% of the program itself within the span of 8 days, Ruby.
Okay, Mohammed, please stay with us as we move to our next story.